Video number 4. Becoming ever popular these days, the mini pocket guns in 380. And if anybody, I know a friend of mine at one point in time was kind of the frame of mind that a 38 special or the 380, such as we have here, were completely useless because people that he'd talked to that were gun professionals always said, those things are useless, you don't want to carry those for self-defense, they wouldn't harm a fly. One day we went to the range, and the only two guns I brought were the 38 Special and this little gem here, the 380. We fired it. When he actually felt the stoutness of the recoil and how the projectiles dug up the dirt after going through the target, he realized that he had something in his hand that was a little bit more potent than, those won't hurt a fly. And in fact even commented that this was the most fun gun that he'd ever shot. And realized that despite having nothing else in your pocket, this would be an adequate means of self-defense. And I'm not going to get into a whole discussion and argument over, 380 can, a 22 can, this, that, and the other thing. I've already gone way off track because the only point of this is to teach the takedown and reassembly in a quick and efficient manner. Nothing in it. Chamber is empty. No magazine. We'll work the action a few times, lock it back. This gun has not had a whole lot of rounds put through it, nor has it been taken down a lot, so the takedown pin is still rather stiff and does not like to come out. So, for the meantime, what I have to do with it is I use one of the little scalps in the serration of my blade to kind of just caress the pin a little bit and get under it. See how it just kind of got under there a little bit? And I'm not really scratching anything, and these little marks here may or may not even show up. They're all but non-existent. Who cares? It's a gun. It's a tool. It's going to get marked up. Maybe it might have a couple of scratches on the side of it. Look at any video where you see our troops overseas, Afghanistan, Iraq, wherever. Look at the weaponry that they're carrying. There's hardly any bluing or melanite or any of the other coatings left on their guns, but yet they're still defending their lives with them. So I'm not going to worry about this thing's ability to defend myself because I've got a little scratch on the side. Not like the guys with their 1911s and they worry about the little scratch on the side. Big freaking deal. Boo-hoo. Get over it. Anyway, takedown. Pin out the side. This gun does happen to be a bit of a pain in the butt when it comes to taking it apart and putting it together, but it's kind of like the 24/7. Got to have the barrel in just the right spot. Little spring there you got to push down with the pin when it comes time to put it back together. The disassembly, you have to release it. No pulling of the trigger on this one, and it comes right off. You got to watch this one because this one likes to fly. See, it wanted to right there. If you don't have a hold of this one, because there's a lot of compression to this spring as it's in there. See the distance of the travel that's got to go. Look at the travel to get that down in there where that belongs. Whereas the other ones just kind of lift out and maybe move a 1/16 or an 1/8 of an inch of compression. This one here, there's a good 1/2 inch there. You got to be careful because it will go flying. Look at that. That's probably, I don't know, close to a 1/2 inch, 3/4, 1/2 inch. It will go flying on you. And there's 2 springs there. Good luck with that. And there's your barrel and your slide. And there you go. Disassembly. Assembly. Direct opposite. And usually when you put guns back together, I didn't mention this in the other videos, don't just assume because you've dropped the barrel into it. Don't just assume that it's dropped in, that it's where it belongs. Work it a couple of times up into the slide and back. I've gone to put some together before, run into a problem, and after taking it back apart to find out what the problem was, found out that the barrel had mysteriously wedged in the slide, but it looked like it was where it belonged, but it wasn't. So when you put them in, work them a couple of times. Make sure it's free and where it belongs. It's not a bad idea. And again, here goes the spring. Watch this son of a gun, because if it gets away from you, it'll be down the hallway and through the door and into the garage. Alright. Got her back in there. This gun, I'll just point out, there's the hammer. Little weeny hammer back there. It's always, this is going to hurt, ow. The gun is never at, when it's assembled, is never at full rest like this. When the slide goes back and you load a round into the chamber, the hammer is always at a 3/4 half-cock position. It'll always fire in a semi-double action manner. And I say semi because you're not fully cocking the hammer. The hammer's already somewhat cocked. When you actually go to fire the gun, and I'm using my finger just to block the hammer so it doesn't go flying apart, you will pull the trigger and it will continue cocking. You'll see it continue to cock as it would in double action. And then, this is going to hurt again, ow, it releases, fires, okay, and your trigger resets. You'd obviously let go. Your slide will go back, the slide will cock it, and it will come back to this position ready to fire again. So it's always firing double action, but at least you're not firing it from, ow, you're not firing it from a fully dropped hammer like you would a revolver. It's always going to be at that stage of the game there. Now, as in somebody else's video, they pointed out a slight, as they called it, a flaw with this gun. I don't really think it's a flaw because if you know what you're doing with your gun, you'll never run into the condition anyway. But what they pointed out was that if you fire the gun, pow, and the slide will work, obviously, even when you get your trigger back because you just fired it, the slide will, I can't push it all the way back because it's together. I'll show it when we get it reassembled. I'll show what the deal is, but you already see the internal mechanism here. Let me put it back together and I'll show you what the issue they pointed out with. Okay, we're going to put it back together. As I said before, this one can be a bit of an obstinate pain in the butt to put back together to get the barrel to stay where it belongs. But once you've done it once or twice, you got to make sure that the hole, if that's even showing up on the video, you got to make sure that your barrel hole, okay, isn't all the way back like the 24/7. You got to kind of have it recessed a hair for the pin to go into. Put your pin in, wiggle the barrel a little bit so that it's all perfectly lined up from one side to the other. Pop it in, drop the action, work it for functionality. Okay, and again, we haven't loaded anything. Chamber is still empty. No magazine still, obviously. You just saw before your eyes. There's no editing here. The problem that they pointed out with this gun in the other video, and you can see the hammer down in there. I'm going to dry fire it so you can see the hammer down in there, what it does under firing. Let me throw another little light on here. You'll see what it does. You'll see that it's at its 3/4 cock position. See it coming back. It'll come back, bang, that's the fired status. What they pointed out, and I'm holding the trigger back, simulating firing. Trigger is back, hammer fell, round fired, ejected the round, picked up the next one off the magazine and chambered. Okay, so we're cocked. We haven't reset the trigger yet. What they've complained about is that if you only half set the trigger, and listen closely, right there, and then pull the trigger, what it does is leaves the hammer felled down, but renders the gun useless for firing until you charge it again, expelling your good round out on the ground and chambering another good round. Now you're recocked again. How this isn't really a problem for me is that if I'm firing this gun, pow, ejection, new cartridge, trigger reset, I'm not going to just go right there with it and pull it again. Any of your other firearms kind of require, you're going to go to a full reset. And you're going to go pow, pow, pow. You're not going to go pow, itsy bitsy, pow, or try to go pow, itsy bitsy, click, pow. You're going to go through a full sequence. Pow, reset, pow, again, reset, pow. So that other point that I don't know how the guy even stumbled onto it, pointing it out as a, quote, air fingers here, air quotes, problem. It's not a problem. You know, maybe it is if you're an idiot and don't know what you're doing with your gun and don't train with it properly. But you know what? I've had this thing out in the field. I've shot it plenty of times, and I've never done that with it. But anyway, point of the video, assembly, disassembly, Taurus TCP 380. There it is.